What's up, YouTube? Welcome back for another reaction video. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Linda and welcome to the Coven. Guys, be sure to give this video a like, share it with all your friends and family. And of course, if you're not already, be sure to just subscribe and hit that notification bell so you guys get notified every time we post a video. So for this reaction video, I thought let's do something a little bit different. So I've decided that we're going to react to 10 of the most notorious serial killer interviews. So on this list, there are 10 of the most notorious serial killers in the USA. Before the video begins though, guys, I want to put a disclaimer out there. Viewer discretion is advised. There are a lot of talks of some pretty dark things in this by these interviews and everything else. And if you are squeamish or this stuff traumatizes you or you are triggered, please click off the video now. Number one on this list is going to be Theodore Robert Bundy. Everyone knows him as Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was a notorious serial killer during the 70s, whom finally received his capital punishment in 1989. A well-deserved capital punishment. Ted Bundy's victims were all female, and he had been arrested multiple times. He was a pretty smart cookie, going to school for a law degree. A lot of people said there's no way he could have done this. He's so good looking and all this. Well, looks are deceiving. But Ted had been arrested and ended up escaping jail and fled to Florida. And that's where he killed a couple of his final victims, 2 sorority girls, and then a final victim, 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. And that's pretty well what led to his arrest.
Of killing many women and girls.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Ted, how did it happen? Take me back. What are the antecedents of the behavior that we've seen? So much grief, so much sorrow, so much pain for so many people. Where did it start? How did this moment come about?
I grew up in a wonderful home with 2 dedicated and loving parents, one of 5 brothers and sisters. But as a young boy, and I mean the boy of 12 or 13 certainly, that I encountered outside the home again, the local grocery store, the local drugstore, the softcore pornography, what people call softcore. As young boys do, we explored the back roads and sideways and byways of our neighborhood, and oftentimes people would dump the garbage and whatever they were cleaning out of their house, and from time to time we'd come across pornographic books of a harder nature than more graphic.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video there, but that's the excuse he gives to why he did what he did. Whatever. He did what he did, and unfortunately, his name will forever be notorious for what he did. He's one of them that just makes my skin crawl. Number 2 on this list, you all might know him from a Netflix series that was made a couple years back called The Night Stalker, dubbing his nickname by the police because he would creep through the night. This is Richard Ramirez. Richard was a notorious serial killer that crept through Los Angeles in the mid-80s, killing 13 people. He was a pretty interesting guy. It didn't matter if you was young, old, what your race was, or if you were male or female. He'd kill you. Researchers have now come to the conclusion that when Richard was a child, he was hit in the head by a swing set, which they are believing that is the reason why he became the way he was. Okay. But also, his cousin Mike was a Vietnam War veteran and would show Richard Polaroids of crimes he committed while in Vietnam. So a lot of people think that's kind of where Richard's mind started to go. And his cousin Mike unfortunately shot and killed his wife in front of Richard. So he had a pretty traumatizing mental state, I would say. So let's go ahead and get into this video about Richard Ramirez.
Do you admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another.
are we not?
Convicted serial killer Richard Ramirez seemed to relish the concept of evil, and once upon a time, a lot of folks in the state of California viewed the one-time Texas altar boy as evil's human embodiment.
Yes, I am evil. Not 100%, but I am evil.
In the summer of 1985, the Texas drifter descended like a deadly disease on a hot California night. A one-man epidemic of madness and murder, one of America's first serial killers to be given a brand name, the name, the Night Stalker.
Lock your doors, lock your windows. If you have the ability to provide additional security devices, then by all means do so.
Who wants to be next? I don't. No one else does.
He preyed on both women and men.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video there, but yeah, you kind of get the point of how he was. Like, he's sick dude. Very sick man. Number 3 on this list has been dubbed the first female serial killer. Historically speaking, that's probably not true, but whatever, to each your own opinion. You might know her story from a movie that was done years ago called Monster, where Charlize Theron portrayed her. This is about Eileen Wuornos. Eileen was a hitchhiking hooker in Florida that was convicted of killing 7 men. She claims that her first killing was self-defense. I'm not saying it was, whatever, that's what, but she went on to kill 6 more, so she can't claim self-defense on all of that. This interview I found was taken a few days before Eileen's execution. So, let's get into the video.
Let's say the cops were following you.
Yeah.
Let's say they were following you and they did everything that you're saying they did. Nonetheless, you killed 7 men.
Yes, you
did. And I'm asking you, what got you to kill the 7 men?
And I'm telling you, because the cops let me keep killing them, Nick. Don't you get it?
Not everybody is killing 7 people. So there must have been something in you that was getting you to do that.
Oh, you are lost, Nick.
So
I was a hitchhiking hooker.
Right.
Running into trouble. I shoot the guy if I ran into trouble. Physical trouble. The cops knew it. When the physical trouble came along, let her clean the streets, and then we'll pull her in.
But how come there was so much physical?
I really think her mind was gone at that point. Like, she's out there. Yeah, you can find this interview. You can find the whole documentary that this interview is included in online on YouTube, where this guy, Nick, he's done a lot of other documentaries. He would go and visit her, and he tells her life story. It was a pretty tragic life story, but okay. Number 4 on this list is going to be the BTK killer. Real name, Dennis Rader. BTK was a notorious serial killer during the 70s. He would send letters to news stations and the police, dubbing a signature that said BTK. This stood for his way of killing. Bind him, torture him, kill him. BTK killed for years until finally he decided to go on a hiatus and try to live a somewhat normal life. That was until his ego got the best of him. He was very egotistical. So what did he do? I'm telling you what this guy did. He went to his church, typed up a letter on a floppy disk, and sent it to a news station in Kansas. And then in the letter, it said, "Can floppy disk be traced? Tell me the truth." And you could imagine. So when police tracked down the floppy disk to Being Church right there in their own town, it was discovered that the only people that really had access to the computer was Dennis Rader. It was discovered he was a deacon of his church, and he was a former Boy Scout leader, as well as he worked for the animal control. The interview done by Dennis Rader was in the courtroom after he had been arrested for his crimes. So this is pretty well just a confessional done by him.
What happened then? I got the keys to the car. In fact, I had the keys, I think, earlier before that, because I wanted to make sure I had a way of getting out of the house. And clean the house up a little bit, make sure everything's packed up, and left through the front door. And went over to their car. and then drove over to Dillon's, left the car there, then eventually walked back to my car.
All right. Now, sir, from what you have just said, I take it that the facts you've told me apply to both counts 1, all of counts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Rader.
Your Honor,
yes.
One thing that needs to be corrected on that record, and that is originally I believe he indicated 1834 Edgemore. The address was actually 803 Edgemore.
All right, but I'd ask if it occurred in Sedgwick County. He indicated what had happened. I don't believe the exact address is important. All right, Mr. Rader, we will now turn to count 5. In that count, it is claimed that on or about the 4th day of April, 1974, in Sedgwick County, Kansas, that you unlawfully killed Catherine Bright, maliciously, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation by strangulation and stabbing, inflicting injuries from which she did die on April 4th, 1974. Can you tell me what occurred on that day?
Well, I don't know how to exactly say that. I had many, what I call them projects. There were different people in the town that I followed, watched. Kathleen Bright was one of the next targets, I guess, as I would indicate.
How did you select her?
Just driving by one day, and I saw her go in the house with somebody else, and I thought that's a possibility. There was many places in the area, College Hill, they're all.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right there. I love how that when the judge was telling him the count 5 charge, he was like, they said, can you tell me about it? He was like, oh, I guess. What a fucking freak. I will say in his little outbuilding, they found like belongings to the victims, like driver's license, underwear, stuff like that. They even found pictures where he would dress in women's lingerie and tie himself up.
Anyway, that's it.
Like, what? But anyway. Number 5 on this list is going to be Edmund Kemper, known as the co-ed killer. Ed Kemper would drive around campuses picking up young female students that were hitchhiking, offer them a ride, and unalive them. Some pretty brutal ways. Finally, after his crimes, he decided that he was going to unalive his own mother in a very brutal way, along with her friend, and then he decided he wanted to turn himself in. I'm not going to get into the description of what Edmund Kemper did to his mother. You can look that up yourself if you don't already know, but it's brutal and disgusting. So let's go ahead and get into this.
I knew a week before she died I was going to kill her. And she went out to a party, she got soused, she came home, went to sleep. I was woken up by that, came out. I walked up to her bed. She's laying there reading a paperback. As many thousands of nights before. And she said, oh, I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now. Shit. Now I looked at her, I said, no. I said, good night. And I knew I was going to kill her. No. And I was so cold and so hard. And that's the first time in 10 years I've looked at it that way. I mean, that intensely, that honestly. It hurts. Because I'm not a lizard. I'm not from under a rock. I came out from vagina. See? Came out of my mother. And in a rage, I went right back in. For 7 years, she said, I haven't had sex with a man because...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video there because it's going to be getting intense and it's pretty disgusting. So Viewer discretion is advised if you go to look that up. Just saying. Number 6 on this list, we all know him. If you don't know him, where the hell have you been? Is Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee cannibal. I'm not going to go into much description. You guys should know who he is, what he did. Yeah. Pretty raunchy stuff. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the interview by Mr. Dahmer.
During the 6 hours before the last victim ran out of the apartment, I heard a knock on the door, and the police were there with the last victim. They asked me where the key was to the handcuffs. My mind was in a haze. I sort of pointed to the bedroom, and that's where they found the pictures. And they yelled, "Cuff him." And I was handcuffed. And
okay. Could you imagine you're the cops and you show up like with this, guy with you that's cuffed, like this dude put cuffs on me. You show up, they ask for the key, you're asking for the key for the cuffs. And you look in a drawer and you find these grotesque Polaroids. And the smell that is coming from this apartment is even more grotesque. I couldn't imagine being an officer in there and seeing that blue barrel. Or let alone opening the freezer and finding 2 preserved heads. What? What? Number 7 on this list, we all know him as the son of Sam, but his real name is David Berkowitz. He is claimed to have committed a heap of murders that took place, I believe in New York is where it was. But some people, since the Netflix documentary was released on him, claim that David Berkowitz didn't commit these crimes alone, that he was involved in a cult and there was other cult members committing these crimes. I don't know. It could be true. Who knows? But let's go ahead and get in this interview by the son of Sam.
Which is, yeah. I mean, when you talk about Satan, what are you actually referring to?
Well, many people may not really understand that, but there was a time I was so confused and so troubled that I was seeking meaning and purpose. I was seeking something, I don't know, as my life began to spin out of control. I mean, I got involved in like Satanism, and I was reading the Satanic Bible, and it was such a dark and troubled time. I'm just even ashamed to talk about it. And I think, years later, I look back in hindsight, and I say to myself, I don't even understand how I got involved in this. I don't even understand what the law of the attraction was. I don't even know what I was looking for. But at the time, it's just like one thing after another. Once you go down the wrong path, you just end up anywhere. So,
okay, I want to go ahead and stop the interview there. So, that's, I think, that interview alone, plus a lot of research people's done, is where they're claiming, like, he got involved with some bad people. Number 8 on this list, we all know him as the killer clown, John Wayne Gacy. This dude just aggravates me, makes my skin crawl. He's disgusting. John Wayne Gacy was, I'll let you do your own research on what he used to do, but he was a contractor that would hire young men and teenage boys, saying and promising they was going to come do work for him. But he would actually unalive them brutally, do grotesque things to their bodies as well. When he was finished with them, he would throw them under the crawl space in his house. Yeah. He did it for years. I think they are still trying to identify some of his victims to this day. So let's go ahead and get into this Gacy interview.
A number of, 3 or 4 psychiatrists, psychologists interviewed
I had
you.
13 of them. There was 6 for the defense and 7 for the state.
Yeah, what was the
state
position
doctor,
of the defense psychiatrists? What did they feel your problem was? What did they come up with from the standpoint of...
what the hell is it? God, I can't remember offhand. Borderline personality, antisocial behavior. I don't see how anybody can be antisocial when you were involved with the public as much as I was.
How about the multiple personality issue?
Oh, the multiple personality came out of Dr. Reifman and Hartman. These 2 clowns from the Cook County there. They came to see me the first time. I said, "You want to talk to John Wayne Gacy, the politician, the clown, the family man, or the businessman?" The next day, I see it in the newspaper. Gacy has 4 personalities. I think one of the headlines said I was a homosexual mass murderer, confessed mass murder. There is no confession, and we offered. I offered as much as $10,000 if you can produce a confession where I confessed to a crime. The time that I was interrogated by the police officers, there was no stenographer, there was no tape recorder.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video right there because this guy, that's what I'm talking about. He makes my skin crawl. Dude, they don't even need a confessional from you. You literally had human remains in the crawl space of your fucking house. Like, get real. Like, this dude literally would dress up as a clown and go to birthday parties or fucking functions in the town, and everybody thought he was just like this lolly, joyful freaking guy, when in reality he was a sick fuck. Number 9 on this list is going to be Joseph Kellinger. He was a pretty twisted guy. Besides his crime sprees, as well as he took the life of his own 14-year-old son. So if that says anything about who this guy really is, there's your answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and move along, and let's get into this video.
It's Grant, Pennsylvania.
I'm a patient person, got a good listening ear, and try to help people.
You're patient, with a good ear, and you try to help people.
Yes.
When you're not trying to murder them.
Yes.
When Kellinger's reign of terror ended, 3 were dead, including his 14-year-old son.
You murdered your own son?
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
He was a sacrifice. I was to murder 3 million people, the planet Earth, and he was a sacrifice to see if I could murder one of my own. At the end of murdering all the people on Earth, I was going to murder my own family and then take my own life and become God.
What do you think of the death penalty?
I'm opposed to it.
The state has no right to take your life, but you can murder other people?
I don't think anyone has a right to take a life.
Except you?
When I'm under hallucination, I do.
These voices from God, these hallucinations, do you still experience them?
Yes, I do.
Often?
Often.
Do you ever feel violent?
Yes, I do.
What do you feel like doing?
Killing people.
You still feel like killing people?
Yes.
Describe the feeling that you get when you feel like killing people.
Well, last March 11th, I was hallucinating, and I took a razor blade and I cut a man's throat.
Here in the hospital?
Here in the hospital.
Do you think you'd murder me, Joe?
Yes.
That's gruesome, Joe. That's horrible.
Yes, it is.
And you don't blame me if...
I'll go ahead and stop the video right there. The licking the lips, that smacking sound, is driving me up the wall. This man is clearly mentally ill. With the hallucinations, the voices, he's clearly schizophrenic. I feel horrible that he has had that mental condition, that he is thinking that, but that's still no excuse for the sick things that this man has done. That's just my opinion. Once again, guys, before I get to the last video, if you guys enjoy this type of stuff, let me know down in the comments below. And if you have anything of videos you want me to react to, you can send them to me on TikTok at our page, A Paranormal Coven. or leave us a comment down below and tell me something that you would want me to react to, and I will look it up myself. So let's go ahead and get into this last interview. Number 10 on this list is going to be a man that some claim is not a serial killer at all, because technically he did not kill anyone, but he was the voice behind the killing. You all know him as Charles Manson. He was the cult leader of the Notorious Manson family. They were the drifters, the unwanted, so he claims, where they would do drugs and party all night and live out in the desert. Charles Manson ordered his followers to commit the Tate and LaBianca murders in 1969. But to Charles Manson, he was innocent. He didn't do anything. Well, so this last one right here is going to be an interview done by Charles Manson.
Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. You know, if I wanted to kill somebody, I'd take this book and beat you to death with it, and I wouldn't feel a thing. It'd be just like walking to the drugstore. Feel blame? Are you mad? Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
There, you can clearly see where his mind is. Old Charlie Manson. He was an odd one. But all right, guys, that's going to be the end of this reaction to 10 of the most notorious serial killer interviews I could find on TikTok. Be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you guys get notified every time we post a video. And if you guys want to see more of these, let me know down in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Linda, and this has been Paranormal Coven. Good night.